Good morning, fellow streakers. This is Jeff.
And Jamie.
And we are excited to be streaking with you today, but not that kind of streaking.
Definitely not that kind. The right kind.
The kind where you are consistent and conscious and intentional about what it is you do every day. And those type of things that are consecutive in nature. That's the kind of streaking that we're talking about.
It's powerful streaking.
As we look at streaking, we've been talking a lot about streaking through the summer and what not seasonal streaks. That would be interesting to talk about those, seasonal streaks.
I wonder if we could do seasonal streaks. We'll have to look at that.
But how you are carrying your streaks through each of the different seasons of either the weather seasons or the seasons of your life. We've been talking about those. And for the last few, we've really looked at what it means to streak through the summer and when you have different types of changes in your life, emotional upheaval and other things of that nature. And we've been talking about how you do those streaks. Well, we are excited today to continue that conversation with a fantastic email that we received. And we're going to get to that in just a second. But before we get there, I think we have a couple of streaks to highlight, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely. There are a couple of people that we want to just call out. One of them being, for several times it's been Lila, who's one of our younger streakers. And Lila just recently hit 200 days on her streak. Congratulations, Lila.
Yes.
And her streak is, she writes at least one line in her journal of how she's seen the Lord's hand in her life.
Yep. And she's done that every day for over 200 days because we got that a couple days ago.
Did we?
So she's into her 200s, which is amazing.
That is absolutely amazing. And Lila is one of our younger streaker. I mean, she's
9.
Yeah.
8 or 9.
Yeah. I think it's 8.
8.
Yeah. So congratulations, Lila. That is absolutely fantastic. And we wanted to call that out because it really does lead into a really fantastic email that we got, which will help us set the stage for what we're going to talk about today in regards to continue your streaks through the summer. So you were the first one to get the email. So
I loved it.
Just give us what I'm curious about, because you came out, or I don't know where I was, but I came into the room and you said, "Did you see the email?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't." So what happened? What were you looking at?
It's from Mauree, who we've had on our podcast in the past. She's a 5th grade teacher. And she just wanted to write to us and tell us about how, because she had been, I guess, so to speak, experimenting with streaking in her classroom. Mm-hmm. She read the book or had talked to us about it when we first were writing the book before we had even had it published yet. And so she kind of started dabbling herself. And then when she got the book and read the book, she wanted to try it in her classroom and see specifically if it would work for her, specifically with math facts. She was frustrated that she was having a difficult time teaching her 5th graders 5th grade level math, because of the deficiency in math facts, that they weren't able to continue to moving forward because they needed these math facts at a memorization level. So that's where she started with her streaking. And so she said...
So after we had talked to her, she went right back to her classroom and said, well, not right back, but as she had mentioned in the podcast, she was going to give this a try. She's like, you know what, I want to give it a shot.
We talked to her last summer.
Yeah.
And then she started, I don't know if she started right at the beginning of the year, but close to the beginning of the year, she started trying a classroom streak. So she wrote us an email to kind of let us know how the year went now that we're into summer and this school year is over.
And to set this up just a little bit more, I want to tell you that when I get emails like this, it is exhilarating. It is so exhilarating to see how individuals have applied streaking, because we recently got another email as well, which hopefully we'll be able to highlight in a future podcast, where someone picked up the book and started reading it and thought about how they could apply it. And so I'm excited about that one, but for me, it's exhilarating. When you receive these emails, what do you think? I mean, how do you feel, really?
I'm excited that other people are having the same feeling of success that I feel like I've been able to have from streaking.
Yeah.
And to see, I've said this so many times, but there's so many whats about what we should be doing and what we need to do. And I feel like streaking gives me a how. And I love when other people communicate that same thing. I knew the what. I knew my kids needed to know their math facts, but where's the how? How am I going to get this to happen? Mm-hmm. And I feel like Mauree wrote and said, your how worked. This is great.
This is a great how.
And I'm going to keep doing this because it's helping me know how to do what I know needs to happen.
Right, exactly.
And so, okay, so this was Mauree. She said, "Hi, guys. I'm excited to share the ending of our class streak."
Capital STREAK.
Yes. We did math facts daily for 136 school days and 80 days of teacher read aloud.
Woo!
So right there.
That is awesome. Did you figure out the number of weeks that was?
Yes,
or?
so 136 school days is 27 and a half weeks.
Wow, half
So
the year.
I don't know. Yeah, more than half the year because there's 52 weeks in a year.
Oh, yeah, so
And
more
you
than half the
take
school.
out 8 to 10 weeks for summer break
Yeah,
and a couple weeks for Christmas, spring or fall break, depending on what they get. And you're down to most, I mean, I think she started a good probably 2 months into the school year.
Mm-hmm. What I love, too, is that she started the math fact streak first and then got some success on that. And then, I mean, because 136 days of the math facts and then 80 days of teacher read aloud. So just calculating that about 50 days after, maybe a little bit more than that, that they started the...
Yeah, so that goes to the methodology that after about, 60 to 90 days, you start to see, okay, this is working. I want to try this in some other area.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened with Mauree is they did the math fact streak and she saw some traction with it. She's like, okay, this is kind of working. Let's try another one.
Yeah.
And was able to. The other thing that's great is I love that a person can write in and say, we did this consecutively for 136 days.
I mean, there's
Like,
just a level of confidence,
yes,
isn't
it's
there?
like
It's
an
just
exclamation point.
It
We
is.
did this.
You
No
s-
questions.
I-
No but. No, we missed a day. No, well, kind ofs.
Yeah.
It was totally we did daily math facts for 136 days.
Yeah.
And we did teacher read aloud for 80 days.
Yeah.
Like we know that.
We know it. We did it. We are completely confident in it. We can say it. And that's the type of input that gives you the internal self-credibility.
Yes, which is what she said. She said, we had great success with streaking as a class. I had higher test scores, higher levels of confidence, and an increased level of teamwork. So that, to me, that was an amazing thing to have at a 5th grade age level. To feel like, okay, because of this laughably simple thing that we did every day. And I remember when Mauree was on, her talking about how once they got going with the read aloud, if something happened in the day, the kids would be like, Miss Pearson, we haven't done our read aloud yet, which is so true. People, especially children, will remind you when you've missed something because they're excited. They like the consistency of it. They look forward to it. And I think the other thing that's happened is it's switched from this thing that we have to do to this thing that we look forward to because we can rely on it, because we're feeling successful about it, because we're sharing time together, because all of these things that are happening, it becomes something that they look forward to, not something that they have to do.
Right.
And I think with math facts, to be able to change math facts to something that your kids look forward to, not something they have to do, I mean, wow, that's amazing.
And that's the change of the mindset from what the activity is that I'm doing to how many days in a row can I string together of this particular activity. That in itself becomes an accomplishment.
Yes.
That we accomplished 136 days of doing this together, the math facts. I mean, that is, it continues to blow me away about just that mindset change, how it's impacted me, how it's impacted you, how it impacts a lot of streakers out there. That the question is what laughably small thing can I do consecutively, consistently, in order to achieve some result that's out there, some future state of being, some aspirational place that I want to be.
Right. And I love that the results of this laughably simple activity, because it was done consistently, there were higher test scores. There were higher levels of confidence. That is a tough thing to induce in people, to get to grow, is levels of confidence. And to be able to focus on this laughably simple activity of we're just going to do this little bit on our math facts every day. Some days maybe they did more. Some days they may have done laughably simple, but they did it every day. They know they did it every day. And through focusing on that, these other things naturally happened. They naturally were able to get higher test scores. They naturally felt more confident. Why? Because they're doing these things. They're doing the things that are going to help them to accomplish things.
Sometimes I feel like I underscore or discount the results that she's talking about right here because I'm so excited about the consistency and the consecutiveness of it. Recognize that higher test scores, higher levels of confidence, and increased level of teamwork. I mean, wouldn't we want that in our family, in our workplace, in school, in pretty much everywhere? You just look at it, and it's by doing together a laughably small thing that each one of us can do.
Right.
Practice at least one math fact daily.
Right.
Okay, here we go. Let's practice it. And you know what? We started with 1. Let's do 2 or 3 or 4.
Right.
And however that is. And on a particularly busy day, we may do 1, and we feel great because we continued the streak.
We still got that 1 in. And so the methodology is perfectly there. The laughably simple. They kept a record of it. They had a community. And in that community, they grew as a community because they felt greater increased levels of teamwork. She goes on to say, although our class streak has ended, many students plan to continue this streak on a personal level. So that's where they're going to continue through the summer. They're going to continue through the change in their routine, the change in their schedule. But the other thing that's amazingly powerful about this is that the kids are choosing to continue to practice their math facts in the summer.
Right.
They're personally,
excited to come back and say,
motivated.
Miss Pearson, Mrs. Pearson, I kept this alive through the summer. I mean, that is one of the things that can come back with is where it's at.
Right.
Or where you progress through the summer.
Where you progress and through. And maybe that community may change now. Maybe that community now changes more to a family level, that they're working on that streak with their family and creating that community. But I can see how as the kids are excited and then the parents kind of are like, okay, yeah, let's get on board with this. It creates this synergy and you just get these amazing results. I love this. She says, many teachers at our school are also seeing fantastic results. I'm ready with a plan to get started on several new class streaks as we begin again in August. I'm moving classrooms, so I'm making plans to have a board dedicated to class streaks. She sends a couple pictures of us, but this is the other thing that I love. She said, I love the life skill this has reinforced in my classroom this year. We had a class talent show on Wednesday and ended up discussing how streaking can help us develop our talents. I loved that. I love that now, so you start with 1, and I think this is so what happens with the streaking methodology is we all have this kind of one blaring deficiency that we're seeing. And we think, okay, I'm going to try streaking and see if this helps. And you do it for 60 or 90 days and you start to be like, this is working. I'm going to now, you naturally start to look and think, well, what other things can this work with? And the kids had that same reaction. I don't know that she was specifically bringing up streaking at their talent show, but the idea of, wow, I was able to learn my math facts better and I got better test scores. And then they're not saying, oh, I have more confidence. The kids are just feeling it. You can just see it. And then they start to look at it and think, wow, I have talents I want to develop. I bet streaking can help me with that.
As I look at one of the questions that's coming to my mind as you're talking about how each one of these students has now been impacted by a framework that they can use in so many different areas of life, be it personal, professional, physical, or spiritual. My question, and the one that I have on the top of my brain always is, how do we get more people to learn about this and to experiment with it? How can we help more people experience what Mauree experienced with her classroom and now feels the power of it and feels the opportunity to get out there? I mean, how can we get it out there? I mean,
I don't think we have to get it out there. We're doing what we're doing, talking about it. But why are we talking about it? We're talking about it because we had personal success.
Yeah.
You're flossing your teeth. I mean, that sounds funny, but that's a huge personal success. It was one of those blaring deficiencies.
It's laughably simple.
And you're like, you know what? I'm doing it. I don't feel deficient in that area anymore. I can go with confidence to my dentist and say, I floss my teeth twice a day.
Right.
With great amount of confidence. You have greater confidence. Your test scores at the dentist are better, Jeffrey.
They are. I know.
You have better test scores.
My
and your
teeth are
whole
staying in my mouth.
team
I
of
know.
orthodontal people and periodontal people are just so working much better together because of your. I'm just kidding.
No, I love what you're saying. No, that's true, isn't it?
Yes, that's so. I look at it, and so I think the whole genesis of writing the book and talking about streaking happened because we got excited about the personal success that we were having, and we wanted to share that. That's exactly what Mauree just experienced the same way. I'm going to try this in my, I have this blaring deficiency in my classroom of math facts with fifth graders. I'm going to try this. She tries it. It starts to work. She feels greater confidence and their test scores are better and the kids are feeling better. And then I want to share this. So I'm going to share this with other teachers. The teachers share it with other teachers. The students share it with their parents. And we start to see the opportunity. I just think it's awesome because it's a new tool to put in our tool belt of things that we can do to be who we want to be.
So what I hear you saying is, in order to get the message out there, we just be consistent and consecutive in what it is that we're doing right now. In regards to, we wrote the book, continuing to write. Like, for example, currently I'm working on Streaking for Professionals. I mean, basically the Streaking Professional is a book that I'm currently working to get out there and to produce. We do this podcast. We have a website that's set up for streaking mastery, and people can go to and read the blogs. We've got Instagram and Pinterest and Facebook and that social media. Plus, we've got the app that we're working on as well. And by the way, I'm not saying all this to say, please do all these things. I'm more looking at it and saying, how can we get more people excited about the success that Mauree has felt, that I've felt, that another
Abby's
streaker out there,
with her
Abby's felt,
vitamins.
Sage has felt, Talon has felt, Katie has felt, Danny has felt. I mean, I could go on and on with a list of people that have decided that they're going to give it a shot, that they're going to suspend disbelief and say, I'm going to choose one laughably small thing to do, and I'm going to see how many days in a row I can string together. I went back. I recently wrote a blog on streaking is the how for all the whats. And that one was in reference to something I had seen on LinkedIn where a person said, how can I read more? And all of these whats came along with it, not a how. And this is truly, in my estimation, there are very few hows out there. And when you find a how, we should just share it. I mean, just get out there and talk about it with whomever because of the success that it can bring in life.
And I think that's what will happen is that, and what we're excited about is that we want people to share when they have their successes. And I want to hear when you feel like something isn't working. I've had a couple friends that have come up to me and been like, this isn't working. And as I've talked to them, I've been able to say, yeah, it's not working because you're not doing it.
Because you're not doing it
You're
right.
not doing it right. You're putting too much pressure on yourselves. You're making it too hard.
Well, just like an airplane doesn't fly when it doesn't follow the laws of, so also streaking doesn't work when you don't follow the laws, when you try to level up all the time, like what we talked about on the last one, or when you're looking at it and saying, I'm going to start, 17 streaks all at once.
Yes.
All of those. And it's sometimes, I believe, frustrating. I have an experience to tell you. Yesterday, I was on a worldwide webcast with, hey, that was kind of cool, worldwide webcast.
WWW.
Yeah, worldwide webcast. And in the webcast, one of the principles that we were talking about is that the urgency of work and how there's a lot of urgency that's going on. And in the comments, an individual commented and said, I believe that urgency exists more in the United States and the U.S. than other countries.
Really?
Isn't that interesting?
Okay.
Yeah, and because this is a worldwide webcast and people were coming in from all over, I don't know where this particular person was. I mean, we had people on from India and from Africa, and I'm trying to think a couple of European nations and so forth. But it was really interesting to me to hear that comment. And so I wonder if culturally we don't take to something like this as far as streaking is concerned, culturally in the United States, but maybe elsewhere in the world, because this podcast goes out to people in the world. I'd love to hear from some of our international streakers how it impacts them, what it is that they do and how streaking has impacted them. Because we've had people from the Netherlands and a couple of other places reach out to us and say, for example, they weren't able to get the app.
Right.
And so we had to, at the early time, we had to figure out what the permissions were that they needed to get. But I'm curious as to, what's the difference in streaking there? Or does it appeal to each one of us that I can do something laughably simple, and that framework in and of itself, that laughably simple law, that it allows us now to unlock something that we couldn't before, because I have permission to win every single day,
right?
And we don't have to continue to be more ambitious. What I need to do is follow the law of streaking and be more consistent and consecutive.
Which is what I'm thinking about when you're like, how can we get more people to hear? And I look at it and I'm like, we just be patient.
One streaker at a time?
One streaker at a time. One person's personal experience.
But what if I want a lot of streakers at a time?
I love you.
Create the community, folks. That's what we need.
Lots of streakers.
Which brings us back to Mauree and how excited her class was and how excited we are for her. That is the whole purpose of the community, is to celebrate success.
Yes, totally to be. And that's what I feel like. As she shared her community with us, I was excited for their success. I was excited for what they'd been able to accomplish.
Yeah.
And that's what's really driving all of this, is the excitement of feeling like, okay, I'm able to do some of these things that in the past I haven't known how to make happen. Like I would love the person that on LinkedIn to try streaking, that had wrote on LinkedIn about reading. How are you guys doing this? That's what the person was saying. How are all of you people reading? I don't know how to find the time. I would love if that person set a streak and to hear.
And rather than find the time, just set a streak to say, I'm going to do a laughably simple thing, which is read at least one sentence daily and see what happens. It'll unleash the opportunity within to become who you want to be.
It does so many things, both intrinsically and extrinsically. So I'm excited. And I think the other thing that I love as we talk about this methodology and your excitement for, I want lots of streakers. This methodology teaches us to be patient.
Yeah.
It gives us practice in just being patient and consistent and allowing that consistency to build the strength and the power behind what we want to have happen and who we want to become.
Yeah, I think that patience grows deep roots.
It does.
So that it's not a flash in the pan. It's not something that just goes away once you've accomplished. In other words, what Mauree experienced there, that's not going to go away.
Right.
That's going to be something that's deeply rooted. Speaking of deeply rooted, one of the things that we're going to do coming up in our podcast is we're going to go back to basics. We are going to go through each law of streaking. We're going to dedicate one podcast each to each law of streaking, just because we've had a whole bunch of new people starting to listen to the podcast and adopt the streaking methodology. So we're going to do that probably coming up in the next few podcasts, where we'll just get really back to basics. So at any time that you have a question, feel free to ask us, or if you'd like to join the streaking community and share with us your streak, shoot me an email, Jeffrey, Jeffrey, @streakingmastery.com, or
Jamie, Jami, @streakingmastery.com, or download the app and join the community. Become friends with us and share your streaks, and we'll share ours.
Absolutely. And also a future podcast that I'm really excited about, The Streaking Lawyer. We've got a streaking lawyer that's going to be fun, that we're going to interview in a little bit. Well, until we talk again,
keep streaking.
A better you.